good to you as it was to me? Yeah, we have a lot of good refreshments and snacks, and the days and the good times are only going to continue to roll on to the day. I would like to bring up some of the Google sales leaders to quickly wave really quick at you all. We'd like to continue to thank Google for not only creating this space for us to continue to learn how to be the best version of ourselves we can be. They will also be facilitators in the next activity, which will be led by none other than the head of EMEA, Hannah Ajikawo. Yes.
It's so nice not have to explain how to pronounce my surname to a Nigerian. So. Ajikawo, I said, yeah, you go. So it's great to see that I met quite a few of you last year at the System Sales Summit. So I can proudly say I've been with the SIS team for almost 3 years now. And in that time, I've had, being in spaces like this has created a lot of opportunity for me myself. So I'm now in a position where I have my own go-to-market consulting firm. So I work with organizations, helping them to remove the complexities around go-to-market execution. Because we get in the room and we make a plan, we get out there and we're like, do whatever you can, do whatever you can. Get that number. It's getting tough, right? So I always say, when I started out in sales about 15 years ago, and I would have never, ever imagined being in a room like this. It just didn't exist for me. I didn't know it was possible. But I always thought to myself, you know what, there's probably as I started to get more experience, to get more responsibilities, I said, there's a little Hannah out there that's like, hey, what should I do? And there's a little Chantel, and there's a little version of everyone in here. That's literally what do I do next? I need some guidance. So today we're gonna have a really fun workshop, and I'm gonna get into it in a little bit of detail now. We have double the amount of people in here, and my slides aren't on here, so we are really. I'm not sure if it was Britta that said, hey, we're resourceful. We think on our feet. That's what we're doing right now. Okay, so we're gonna be thinking on our feet today. But just to set the context for the Divergent strategies workshop is, by a raise of hands, who here is happy to admit that they've hit the 30+ mark? So 30 plus? Oh, we haven't experienced something like So keep your hands up if you are quite intentional. Keep your hands up if you're 30, but keep your hands up if you're quite intentional about your health, your fitness. You're like, you know what, I try to watch what I'm eating, and I work out and stuff. Listen, it's tough. I'm half Jamaican, half Nigerian. Let me tell you. Food is good, right? Alright, so you can put your hands down. So something happened to me when I hit 29 years old and 364 days. Everything I did the next day didn't work. It didn't work for me, right? So I remember being like, I'm going to keep eating good. And I was like, oh, it's not really working. The pounds are still piling on. I was like, okay, I'm going to work out more. So I did, I changed up my workout routine. And I was like, okay, we're getting into it. But then I hit a plateau and I was like, okay, what's that intermittent fasting thing? That's 16. And I was like, oh, it's falling off. And then I hit a plateau again. But the thing for me, I was like, why isn't this working? I had the same goal, but very different circumstances. I had become a mum. My body adjusted to do whatever my son needed it to do, and needed for him. And I had to think differently. So the way that I was thinking about the things that I've always done no longer worked, right? Same goal, different circumstances. So I had to think, okay, what do I do next? So what I actually do, I literally did this. I went online, I Googled a black female bodybuilder. And I was like, with a bit of booty, because I got a bit of booty. So I was like, because I needed to be realistic, right? So I put it on my wall, then my vision board, and I was like, okay. Every time I don't know what's working, and I hit a plateau, I'm just going to look at her and be like, what does she do? How does she maintain that physique? I literally did that. I had that up for the whole year. And that's when I think about 2020. Okay, so 2020 hit us, and we were like, this is the year of clarity. I'm going to hit my goals. And then COVID said, absolutely not. You're not doing nothing. You don't even leave your house, right? It got back what's going on. But 2020 vision means clarity. It means the ability to see something that's just 20 feet in front of you really clearly. And that's what we're used to. We're used to anticipating these things. We're like, we've been in our roles, we've got a team that we're leading, we kind of know how our customers act, and we've got that team member that's a little bit of an arse, and that person that's really good, but we had things that we could do to anticipate what was happening. But then 2020 hit and the rule book just got torn up. It was like, yeah, ain't no one coming into the office, or remote, internet's slow, like, I'm trying to communicate, and everything was very different. So we had the same goals, but again, very different circumstances. And on top of that, all the headwinds that we've always faced. As women of colour, we know them, we're not going to get into that today. But as all the headwinds that we had just became more apparent, because guess what? Now we have to deal with DEI issues. So we've got to deal with our customers and our teams, and it was like from revenue to ethics, just solve everything. So the spotlight's been on us even more so than it used to be. Like, we can feel it, we just know it. We're like, oh, I've got to do more, what I was doing before is enough. And now is a time where we have to think around, okay, so how do we think differently? So I would like to collectively invite all of you to go on that journey with me today as we do the Divergent Strategies workshop. So what that's going to look like is you're going to be split into teams. There might be enough chairs for all of you, but you all turned up, you're really excited for today, so you might need to stand up. But we're going to be split into teams, and we're going to be working through different challenges that revenue leaders are facing today. And the most important part of that is going to be assuming a divergent way of thinking. So what does that mean? So some of you may be really familiar with it, but essentially divergent thinking is an important part of problem solving. It allows us to think of new possibilities. So we all have our little black box, as I said, but we just, something comes up, we're like, yeah, I know how to deal with that, it's fine. You go tell, you do that, you do this, but it's a bit different today. So now we're trying to break out of how we've always done things and try and look through a new lens, a new paradigm. Because that's going to be the thing that allows us to do that. Now, I spend a lot of time, as I said, working on making go-to-market execution easy. And I love that Nira mentioned something about the customer in that panel where she said, it's about getting closer to the buyer. We really have to be close to them. And that's literally the whole philosophy of revenue funnel. So in the workshop today, what I want you to focus on is who do I need to be to solve these revenue challenges. All right, so I'm going to leave it there, but I'm going to give you actually the envelope to everything. Pass that into me. I'm going to quickly walk you through, firstly, what some of those revenue challenges are. As I said, I don't have my slides, so we're just going to work for that today. Okay, so there are 5 of them somewhere here. Okay, cool. So you're going to have one of these 5 challenges. One is dealing with hybrid and decentralized teams and hiring, adopting new tech like AI, dealing with operational efficiencies, role plus, so what that means is over-delivering and proving your value, because now just doing your job isn't enough, and changing buyer behaviors and increasing customer expectations. So whoever gets that is lucky because you literally just got all the answers, or part of them from the previous panel, but I really want you to lean into this. But we're not going to do this as ourselves, we're actually going to be doing that with a new identity. And I'm just going to give you an example of one of the identities. And what's going to happen when you do go into the next room is you're going to let go of yourself. Okay, just be like, I'm no longer the person I am today. I'm this new identity. And you're going to receive that as you get into the next room. Okay. So here is an example identity. Ready? Okay. So the hip hop savant, Khalil DJ K Johnson. He is a 17-year-old expert on hip hop culture. This could be you. Khalil, aka DJ K, is deeply rooted in community. And he uses his cultural lens to understand and dissect various societal issues, including business and commerce. He is a high school student, aspiring music producer, and a hip-hop blogger. He writes a popular blog about the intersection of hip-hop and society, and DJs at local events. He's 17, located in New York, and he met Jay-Z at a community event. Now, his thinking style is creative, rebellious, and community-oriented. Cultural context, he likes hip-hop. He's Gen Z, urban lifestyle. Now, when it comes to dealing with a revenue challenge, his approach would be applying storytelling and entrepreneurial spirit of hip-hop to solve problems. Rap, storytelling, right? Well, that was the origins. I don't know what that mumble stuff is today. I don't know what to say. So when it comes to someone like DJ K, his divergent thinking tips is, his approach to it would be remixing traditional ideas, like a sample in a hip-hop track. It will be like leveraging the power of storytelling. It will be like having a hustle mindset, so being really resourceful. So as you get your identity, I want you to read it yourself, reintroduce yourself as that person in the room to your table, so they know who you are, and that is the lens you need to look through when it comes to these problems. It's going to make you feel really itchy and uncomfortable, but if you feel like you're too comfortable, you're not thinking enough. That's literally it, okay? Any questions before we get ready to get up and find a seat? And if there's no seats, I'm sorry, but you have to stand up. No? Feeling a little bit like, what do I sign up to?
Exactly right.
Anybody got any weight loss tips? All right, team. So volunteers are over here. They'll be standing up. We've got Terry, we've got Shanice, and they ran out. No problem. All right, so everybody come up. Follow the volunteers into the next room. Please find a seat at the table.
I am the quantum physicist brother, sister. I combine quantum physics and ancient wisdom to offer a unique blend of scientific inquiry and spiritual mindfulness.
Notice that on this planet, you guys have a movie called The Matrix. So I'm going to go ahead and utilize some of those ability vibes and to know exactly what they want, like exactly what.
Yes, and then it'll interrupt anything that goes against what we've decided.
Oh, excellent.
A bit crazier. It's too reasonable. I need unreasonable suggestions, right?
Intergalactic. Okay.
Yeah, okay. It's 15 minutes more for unreasonable, very crazy, weird suggestions, right? Let's get going. Get more uncomfortable.
She's like, yo, you have to say crazy. I'm raising my hand.
Our systems, how we actually hold the meeting.
And how do we do that?
AI.
How do we do that?
Well, that's what we're brainstorming through now.
Let's just have a robot fashion show.
Oh, I love that.
And let's
The appeal to the collective for the greater good. So you have made it very clear with all your followers what you prefer. You don't want to go anywhere. You want to stay where you are with your ring light and all the things. But you are prepared to help us do that by getting us bunker prepared and all these survival skills. We got to be cautious.
yes.
We got to be cautious as we travel intergalactically to all these different places.
What we have to do is really do a deeper dive into what our customers are thinking, because unless we can actually go out there and have a real sense, perhaps that's either a customer survey or when we go out on sales calls, we ask customers, what are your 3 biggest pain points? And then also think of the way our company has been perceived in solving that, because at the end of the day, business is about numbers, it's also about the way you think. So that would be one thing I would use as sort of a place to start.
Everything's crazy, so I need the ideas to be unreasonable and crazy. So as an example, we have a virtual influencer. We're looking at changing buyer behaviors. Once a month, we're going to get one of our friends in a room, and we're going to give them content to follow. We're going to get their brain activity and energy, and force them to think the way that we want to think, right? So that's the kind of ideas we're looking at, right? So it's unreasonable, yes, but that's fine. We need to get ideas that are unreasonable, right? So think through your lens, right? So you've got communicate telepathically. We're going to have in every new customer meeting, we're going to have somebody who can telepathically communicate and interrupt customers' thinking so that they say what we want them to say. Right? So think through those, like, how you challenge. So we got 15 minutes now to get really good.
Throw in some vibranium, gold, and it's called Beyond the Bunker program. Path to leadership. Yeah. Pay them in heavy metals. Vibranium. We'll stand the test of time in the future.
Universal funds, I love that.
Yeah.
I only said because he can
I want to present that to everyone. I want everyone to be introduced to my therapy page because it's where I meditate.
I want to know what's on that tag.
All right, so we're just going to spend about 15 or 20 minutes doing a little bit of feedback on the workshop. So what I'd like us to do is we're not going to do the old school like stand up and present. What we're going to do is just share a bit more about our experiences. So I'd love the team leads to raise their hands. Everyone that was a leader in their team around their table, raise your hand. I only see it, don't you? Right.
Our team went to the other room. Our team went to the other room.
So what I want you to do is just share, so the leaders, if you can share the problem that you were working on, and just kind of like your general ideas that you came up with after the crazy stuff. The plausible responses. I know some of you were like, I was still on crazy. I don't know what this plausible stuff was. But so team leads again. Hands up. So introduce yourself first, and then just say the problem you were working on, and then okay, we got.
Which one?
You ready up? We haven't named that. I need to name that. So I'm just like, you know, normally there's like one black woman in the room, right? So it's just listen, last year at the summit, let me tell you, everyone's like, Hannah, we spoke earlier. I was like, did we? Because so many of us. Right? Just watch Friday and Saturday. You guys remember that accent. Hannah, you're right. Yeah. I digress.
Should I come up or? Y'all showing up.
Alright, so what's the problem that you were working on?
So the problem that we were working on is hybrid and decentralized teams and hiring. It's impacting our bottom line with revenue and growth, as well as diminishing our culture. So just to sum it up, we decided that we would lean forward with establishing a culture of fluidity, and that is across remote, in person, and even across galaxies. So part of the challenge was to get people to planet Zorlon, and we need intergalactic linguistic specialists, but more so on the experience. We really put our heads together to learn how to be more resourceful, lean into digital natives. Remote is not necessarily a bad thing, and we're introducing that fluidity with the use of VR headsets. So the people that want to be remote can be in the room virtually and still participate. And we think that closing that engagement gap is going to have a positive impact on the bottom line. We did get really creative with our tactics and incentives. We're gonna microdose some of our attendants with mushrooms adapted. And if you're not into the microdosing, you can also leverage hypnosis because we're talking about intergalactic travel.
Who let them slip in the crazies into the I see the whole time we wasn't crazy enough. We were turned up. And then the second half was to take crazy out, but let's keep going.
Yeah. So the principles that we want to establish this culture of fluidity around is that engagement equity. So if you're a shapeshifter, if you are you lean in more to anonymity, cosplay, we're welcoming all of those like metaverse type ideas so that everyone feels welcome. We're leading with empathy. Part of that is the drugs and microdosing. The shared language and experiences to be able to communicate across galaxy, and then diversity across timelines. Some of the onboarding is that we're going to teach people themselves past, present, and future, so they're bringing their real full self to work from all aspects. And then we'll measure this against employee surveys, some general data for benchmarks, as well as looking at the revenue and growth in a 12-month period.
Just sign me up for those mushrooms. You got those? Just for that proof, what was that experience like? Because I had to come around and kick everybody a little bit. I had to be like, what's going on? Very structured. So what was that experience like, just trying to come up with those ideas? How did you walk through that?
I mean, we really had to get in character, and I welcome anybody from my group to chime in. Yeah, feel free to fill in the gaps, group members.
Well, I would say one of the biggest kicks in the butt that really did help us was when you said think outside of this galaxy, using aliens and that concept. It helped us break through the possibilities.
Yes.
So we talked about how even in our own workplaces, when you think the problem is one thing and then you're limited. But once you said, all right, you guys got to get crazy with it, we were all riff-raffing off of each other in our characters, and it really the momentum picked up. It was it was a bit stale in terms of what we thought, the standard routine answers that were possible versus once we opened up our minds to new galaxies, we it went very well.
Yeah, I love that. I'd love to see another. Let's go for. We can do two more teams. Two more teams. Go on, go. You don't have to come up. You can do it if you want to.
Beautiful. Hi, I'm Stephanie Lawrence. I'm the head of agency teams at Nextdoor. So our challenge was changing buyer behaviors and increase customer expectations. So what we wound up coming with, we really leaned into the the AI, the influencer, if you will, the digital influencer with all of her followers. Where is all my stuff? So we were gonna do, like, a lot of this was voice of the customer led. So we were going to compile learnings to create a new go-to-market strategy in our presentation. So we were thinking of this in the lens of using the time challenger, or time traveler, to figure out what worked in the past. And because we also had someone on the team who was part of the destruction of the world, or whatever they want to call that, figuring out if our product was actually the cause of that. So we were going to use that to sort of like always evolve and pivot the product to make sure that it makes sense for our audience. We also love diving into the social media piece of this also, using the social media almost as a focus group for just continuing to learn what our audience is into and what they want this product to be. Also because things were taking a dive, we also wanted to look at the internal, the employees, and how they're working and how they're feeling and how they're being motivated to continue to push and drive. But the main thing here was that we wanted to lead with data at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So to keep leading with data, understanding what our audience is into, understanding where the technology is going. This one also wanted to use mushrooms to drug people. So we're all into the psychedelics at all. And at the end of the day also, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. Oh, another thing we talked about was nostalgia too. So, you know, why is the product working today? Why did the product work so well in the past? Like, can we figure out why we started this in the first place, and, you know, bring people back to that feeling of when they loved it in the first place? I think that's it. Thank you.
So were mushrooms the craziest idea in that group? What else? What other things came up?
Oh no, that definitely wasn't the craziest.
We're gonna have an ashram that sort of mimicked Disneyland, because that was tied back to nostalgia, and that was where the mushrooms were also gonna come in. And then I think also use the person who can speak several languages to create a specific lexicon just for our customers that really mirrored what they were thinking based on that.
Oh, from the apocalyptic perspective,
Yeah.
we want to strip it down to the bare minimum, so we would take everyone's cell phone and laptop, and you get kicked out of the focus group if you have to use your cell phone.
Oh, and then tapping into to give them thoughts, right? I think we're going to tap from mind control. We're going to use telepathy to control their minds and thoughts.
Oh my God, the main one that we loved most was our shapeshifter. The shapeshifting piece, we were going to have dynamic creative, so here's the digital nerd, the dynamic creative, the shapeshifter can come and people want to use a product that, you know, from someone who looks like them and feels like them, so you would see an ad of you using the product and how much you enjoy it. So that was a creepy side of it.
I love that. Okay, one more group. Thank you for that. Team lead.
Okay, I'm gonna just go.
Okay, let's go.
But our task was to brainstorm a strategy about hybrid situation, decentralized teams, how to make sure that we can keep up with productivity, conquer like employee engagement that's decreasing, and then just empower the company culture. And so we also too did want to use drugs and teleport. Our main theme is accessibility through options. And so as far as employee engagement relates, we wanted to come together for outcomes. So creating these geographic hubs for employees to gather, of course, employee resource groups, and really the power of storytelling. And so building those avatars kind of gave us the idea regarding storytelling and keeping office spaces for those employees who maybe have limited resources that we don't know about. The second theme was fuel metrics, and so really heavy on the data as well. So providing the tools for people to excel in workspaces, which includes their laptops, watches, stipends for productivity, and then continue to test and learn. And one of the things we wanted to do was build focus groups to really keep up with AI and things like that. And then the last one is creating a culture through water cooler conversations. In the past, like when we all worked 100% remote, we had our desk, and that kind of told a story to bring people together. So we want to kind of create a virtual space for that to happen so that people can have the option to do just that as well. So That was it, but back to the drugs and the teleport.
Okay, so drugs, that was what drugs. Okay, awesome. Does anybody, just back opening it back up to the room, does anybody want to share a bit more about the experience of, like, initially when they were reading through the identity, whether like what you were thinking, and how you started to come up with your initial ideas? Go for it.
I felt like it was something that gave me a different perspective of someone that could really, no aliens exist, but in terms of, I feel like the alien representation of someone that's from a different country or an immigrant. So coming to this country and having, as a child, immigrant, some first generation, coming to this country and like have no one relating to you and people having to come to your world just to really understand you and how you live in your struggles, because it's completely different coming from a different country, living there, and then coming to America and being completely adjusted to the way of life over here. But for mine, I was with the scavenger, and that gave me a perspective of how I could be working with someone who is homeless or in between homes, and how they could be having lack of resources, and they would actually need the office to be open because they wouldn't have the space for a desktop, or Wi-Fi maybe not strong, so the office needs to be there. I was always for, let's just work from home, be remote, like, I don't want to go in the office, but I can now understand why, like, people actually need that space, to go there. So it gave me a different perspective when it comes to, like, my coworkers, and even when it comes to sales, like, in talking to our clients, that we don't know what they could need or want, and to not think of like a one like monolith perspective when it comes to like Gen Z or any kind of like common side.
Yeah, it's just small details, like, a lot of leaders are, not sure how you all feel in a room, but a lot of leaders are very uncomfortable when their team members don't join with their video on. Oftentimes you don't know what the situation could be. They could be the cleanest part of their home, or the neatest could be the bathroom, and they're like, I ain't trying to turn on the camera right now. So there's just different ways to think about it. Anybody else want to share? Go for it.
Hi, so my name is Crystal from Spotify. I thought a lot about what inclusive leadership actually looks like from this exercise. There were so many different perspectives that were shared, and I just was reflecting on the hundreds of meetings I've been in and just wondering maybe what voices have we not heard, because we haven't given people a chance, or they haven't felt that psychological safety to, again, bring their full selves and their ideas to work so that we can fuel further innovation in the workplace.
Hi everyone, my name is Fatima, and to piggyback off that statement, my identity profile was not far off from who I am naturally. I was Dr. Emily Virtue, and it just made me more aware of, we spoke about imposter syndrome, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know that my natural state of being was this much of a value add to what I'm bringing to the table. And so I was like, I just thought that it was interesting that when you're talking, I didn't know to, moving forward, just coming into boardrooms and conversations like this, in the fullness of my identity of being a futurist, like, thinking about the moral compass of different people and identities and cultures and communities. And so that was really awesome.
I also find it quite interesting, because we will find yourself that in a lot of the rooms that we'll sit in, when we do have power, we do have influence, we often, we probably over-compromise on our values and belief sets. So we're like, I wouldn't feel, so there may be something with a customer or even internally, but I wouldn't actually feel comfortable us delivering that message to a customer, maybe a roadmap or development, whatever. And because I'm an honest person, and the business is like, oh, we need to keep them. It's like, I'm detaching so far from myself. So it's interesting when you're forced to say, this is your belief system, this is your lens, and you have to look through that. And you don't compromise. You're like, I heard people say, yeah, but I'm Emily, and I wouldn't allow that. So I was like, this is quite interesting. But no, thank you so much. So we're going to come to the end of the workshop. So everyone, thank you so much.